Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josey. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of Badassery herself, the real Jen Josey. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josey, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing one of their past projects. We will let you decide if it was good or bad or just plain ugly. But before we begin, here's today's Badassery Bestowment, a little badass gift to you. Today's topic is the importance of vetting a property manager like a pro. A property manager can make or break your real estate investment. The right one will protect your assets, maximize profits, and save you from constant headaches. The wrong one, well, they'll cost you money, time, and possibly your sanity. Here's how to properly vet a property manager before handing over the keys. Number 1, check their track record. Experience matters. Ask how long they've been in business, how many properties they manage, and for references from other investors. A solid track record is a sign they know what they're doing. Number 2, understand their fee structure. Know exactly what you're paying for. Are fees based on rent collected or rent due? What's included in management fees and what costs extra? Hidden fees can eat into your profits fast. Number 3, evaluate their tenant screening process. Your property is only as good as the tenants in it. A great manager has a thorough screening process including credit checks, rental history, and income verification. Weak screening leads to high turnover and costly evictions. Number 4, assess their maintenance and communication. How do they handle repairs? Do they have a reliable vendor network? More importantly, how responsive are they to both tenants and owners? A manager who dodges calls or delays maintenance will cause major issues. Number 5, review their lease agreement and policies. Ask to see a sample lease and review their policies on late payments, evictions, and security deposits. Their lease should be airtight and protect your interests. If they can't explain their policies clearly, it's a red flag. So, a well-vetted property manager is worth their weight in gold. Take the time to do your due diligence, and you'll avoid costly mistakes down the road. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. On today's show, I am thrilled to welcome RAIN member and all-around badass, Stefan Valentino. Stefan has been making waves in real estate since 2011 and expanded into private money lending in 2023. I first met him through Tarek El Moussa's coaching program a few years ago, and it's been incredible to watch his business thrive and evolve. But Stefan's success isn't just about real estate. He's been married for 36 years and is a proud father of 2, proving that true wealth is about the life you build along the way. It's an honor to have him on the show, so welcome Stefan Valentino. Whoop, whoop. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for being here today.
Good to see you.
And I'm popping your podcast cherry. Yay! This is your first podcast.
Yes, it is.
We've been hanging out way too much lately for you to not let me pick on that. And we are recording this. It's being released later, but we're recording this on Valentine's Day. But you corrected me. You said it's Valentino's Day. So thank you for that. So I am thrilled to have you here, but give us a little background. How did you get involved with real estate?
Well, my folks were very entrepreneurial. They own their own businesses. My dad, before he got married, met my mom. Once they got married, he was continuing to do that. She kind of helped him in his business. And then he was building out businesses for somebody else, and they would sell those businesses to people. And along the way, my mom said, why don't we get one of those businesses? So they started that, and they had it for about 30 years and just continued. Along the way, they bought property. It was rental property. And I thought that was something that was very interesting. It was a way to create passive income. And so that kind of started my fire under me. And ever since then, I've just always wanted to own property and continue in real estate.
So I had the pleasure of meeting you through Tarek Al Musa's coaching program. It's called Homeschooled by
Right.
Tarek. And how did you find that program? Had you done a coaching program before then? Like, what was your reason for joining that coaching program?
My wife and I had looked into a couple of different programs actually. Uh, Kind of the usual ones. There was some people on TV that were spinning their deal, but with Tarek, I don't know, it just felt more natural. It felt more easy and more inviting. And so when that kind of popped up, I think on social media, as a matter of fact, I looked into it. It looked interesting. I talked to some people, and I thought it was something that was worthwhile. So I jumped into it, and it's been great because I've learned and so much through that program, and I've met incredible people, right? But across the country, really, from coast to coast. And so it's been really great, and it helped me on this project, as a matter of fact.
Perfect. Well, let's dive into this project. This was a great project. And one of your main issues I remember is you're located in Southern California, correct?
That's right.
And tell me about the prices in Southern California.
Well, you can get a 3 and 2, 1,500 square foot that needs all kinds of work for around 700,000.
Wow. Well, the reason why I asked that is I'm setting it up here because was this your first like major flip that you did?
Yes.
Okay. And you did something I would never have the courage to do, but I'm super proud of you, which is another reason why I wanted you to share this project. You did it not only just a couple hours away, but out of state. So like I said, we're going to dive in here. So tell us about just the property first. Tell us about the house and how many beds and baths, any funky part about the property itself.
Well, it started out as a 2 and 2. It was
Okay.
about 1350 square feet. Decent sized lot is about 6,500 square feet. Typical neighborhood. Had a pool that was almost dry, except for the rot and gross everything that was at the very bottom. And I found it through a wholesaler, actually. The neighborhood was decent. It just looked nice. There was nothing, no broken down cars or anything in the neighborhood. So I thought that this would be a good start. The outside of the house was clean and solid. And so I thought that this would be a good project to start with.
Okay. So you found it through a wholesaler, but what made you comfortable jumping on this project? How many like, what was the drive distance?
6 hours.
6 hours. So what gave you the confidence to jump on this project?
Well, after looking at the project, right? I mean, obviously these guys give you most of the information. They give you pictures, and I looked at it and I ran my numbers and it looked good. But through Tarek El Musa and getting to know people around the country, I had a friend out there, Corey, who not only walked the property for me after I found it, but helped me with the project as well. So I had somebody that was there in town that could help me out.
Huge. And we call that in the business boots on the ground. And Corey is also another RAIN member. We all love Corey. And I am always hesitant on partnerships unless you are literally married or family. Well, married, you'd be family as well. But I get very nervous about it. But you all did a great job going through this project together. So bravo to you and to Corey for that. But let's start with the asking price. So what were they asking? What did you end up paying for it?
They were asking 265, and I ended up
Can't find that
paying
in California, can you?
not no two. It was a 2 and 2, 1,300 for 265. No, and It did need some work, obviously, but it was in solid condition. I ended up paying 254.
Okay. And then what was your estimated ARV at the time of purchase?
We thought we can get it to 425.
Woo, that's a very good spread. And what were your estimated repairs at the time of purchase?
Looking at it, me online, having Corey walk it, we thought it'd be about 50,000 to get it
Okay.
up and running.
And what were those major repairs at the beginning?
Basically, it was just checking to make sure that everything was working properly. Obviously, the pool needed to be done or redone. But other than that, it was just kind of bringing everything up to date. Now, what we did do, because it was just a 2 and 2, the rooms were fairly good size. And so we actually split one room. Both rooms had a walk-in closet. And so we were able to split the second room in half and put in 2 closets, and we made it a 3 and 2 without changing the footprint of the house.
Awesome and super, super smart to do that because a 3-bedroom, 2-bath definitely sells a lot better than a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So very, very good. All right. Important question here. How did you finance the deal?
Actually, so my wife and I have been very successful in what we've done, and we were able to finance this deal through an account that we have. We were able to borrow money basically from ourselves from another account. We had to pay interest on it. It's
Good.
basically like using your 401k, something like that. And we paid 7.5%.
Okay.
So much better than hard money, about normal of what a conventional would be right now.
And did you have to pay points or anything to borrow from this
No
account?
points on that. No points.
Sweet. Very,
Mhm.
very good. And at the beginning, what was your projected timeline to finish the rehab?
Well, we thought rehab would be about 6 or 7 weeks,
Okay.
and we were able to finish it in 5.
Woo! That's when it is so worth having boots on the ground. All
And right.
right. Yes. So you have Corey there. Thank goodness. Were there any issues during the process of this? Now, I know this was your first like major renovation and you are 6 hours driving distance away. So how did it work during the process?
I went out initially and walked it with Corey after getting the house under contract. Walked it with Corey and the contractor, and we went through the process of what we wanted to see done and how we were going to get that done. And then I would come out every 10 days, 2 weeks or so, and just check the process. Meanwhile, Corey was there. If there was any issues, any problems, she was there to be able to, talk to the contractor and be in the house. So that went pretty smooth. Issues in general, I mean, the only real issue in rehab was the pool itself. We had a couple of
I
things that we
laugh.
had to get
I
done.
laugh because I remember this pool.
Yeah.
Was there stuff growing in it at the bottom?
Well, luckily, no.
Okay.
But what we did find out is we talked to the neighbor. We saw him outside one day, went over, talked to him, told him we were getting the house and what we were doing. He was very happy about it and pleased. And his first question was, what about the pool? I said, well, yeah, we're going to redo that. Maybe we'll have a pool party. And he says, well, the reason I ask is because I know when there was water in it, it leaked into our backyard. And I thought, oh, great. Okay, well, let's see what happens there, right? So we ended up having to just chip out the whole pool, and then we pebble tech the whole thing and rerouted the plumbing so that in case we didn't know if it was the pool that was leaking or if it was the plumbing that was leaking. So we rerouted the plumbing and took care of that.
Oh
So
my
that was
goodness.
the biggest problem.
And I think it's so different when you are learning things on paper, you're having conversations with coaches and you're evaluating things and all this stuff, but then real world happens and you start talking to neighbors and things totally change. And I'm just curious from your perspective before you got into it, how was it different, the whole process from what you were taught in the coaching program versus reality of what really happened? Like, how was your relationship with this contractor, for example? Because he's not yours, he's Corey's.
He's not my contractor, and yeah, the relationship was not good. I mean, I feel I'm a pretty good judge of character and people, and I've owned other businesses in the past. So that was a little difficult at first. I think that he felt because Corey brought him on that he's going to deal with her and not with me. And even if I had questions for him, he would address them to Corey. So that was a little bit of a awkward triangle,
Yeah.
but we were able to get through it. And he worked really quickly. Obviously, he said we got it done in 5 weeks. And so he did his job pretty quickly and got us done and moving on. So I can't complain about that.
I mean, come on, 5 weeks to do what he did. That is very, very impressive. So,
Including the pool.
I mean, that could take months for some. So that is great. But I kind of remember we teach you about materials and doing this. And he had his own idea of what he was doing and bypassed you, from what I remember, where
correct.
you're like, shouldn't I be making these decisions, where he made decisions for you? Now, we know it worked out beautifully in the end, but knowing that now, how would you have approached him at the beginning of the project?
I would have had a scope of work in hand, and we would have gone over line item on how I wanted to do it and what I wanted to use. I did have a scope of work, but because it was at such a distance and Corey was there, boots on the ground, who has a great deal of experience as well.
Right. Yes.
I kind of leaned on her to let that kind of happen and make sure she kind of we talked individually and made sure that she was kind of guiding him in the right direction. I guess making him feel that he was making the decisions, but she was kind of pushing him in a direction that kind of helped us out.
And what did Coach Jen tell you all the time when decisions were being made about maybe certain colors or finishes? What did Coach Jen tell you?
I'm not going to live there.
Was that a good lesson to learn?
That was a great lesson.
And you know what, Stefan, though? It's also about letting go. Trust me, I'm a control freak when it comes to design and what, sorry, I hit my microphone. When it comes to design and what to do and putting that trust in someone. I mean, I was having anxiety for you, to be perfectly honest, but again, everything turned out great in the long run, but it really could have gone south rather quickly. So I admire you for being strong through it and getting through that. So we are starting the construction. You divide the room, super smart to do. And the timeline was shorter than what you projected, which is amazing for your first flip. And by the way, don't get used to that. But you projected 50,000 in repairs. What was your actual repairs at the end?
Closer to 80.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What was the difference in those prices there?
Well, initially, Corey and I had looked over what we thought was going to be our scope of work and what we thought would be repairs, and we agreed that it would be about 50,000.
Hold on. Before you go on, just for the listeners, in case we have a brand new person listening, explain what a scope of work is.
The scope of work is for me is going to be what we're putting in and how we're going to put it in. So what kind of flooring we're going to use, where we're going to get it, the colors we're going to paint the walls, what type of countertops we're going to use, what cabinets we're going to do, what style of cabinet, the colors of those things, how we're going to make the shower, all those kinds of things.
So it's a document that is shared between you and the contractor, so there's no confusion on what is going in and what is to be done and how it's supposed to be done. So thank you for clarifying that. All right, so you're at 50,000, but it creeps up to 80,000. So continue that part.
Yeah, well, a lot of that was the pool, right, which we thought would be about 10 or 11 grand, and that turned out to be about 16 to 18.
Okay.
And initially, like we said, I looked at my scope of work, and in using the software that I have that we use, I thought it might be about 60 to 65. Corey, who has connections wholesalers and different things, that wholesale companies of equipment, product, all that kind of thing, was able to get it down. But apparently the contractor had a different idea. And so what we thought was going to be 50, he thought was going to be 65. So it jumped about 10 grand, which was, I thought, okay, up to close to what I thought was going to be for me going in. So I thought that was all right. But on top of that, I did have an inspection before I purchased the property, but the timeline was so tight between making my offer and escrow closing that I didn't get the report because the inspection company dragged their feet a bit. I had to call them 3 times
Oof.
to get my report. Escrow closed, and I get my report afterwards. I did talk to the inspector, and I asked him, so how's things look? He says, actually, it's in good shape. I said, what about the roof? Because it was a flat foam roof. And he says, well, yeah, it's a little worn, mainly over the carport, but it should be fine. There's probably a couple of years left in that. So I thought, okay, great, no problem. After I got my report, that's not what it said.
Oh, no.
So I thought, okay, let's see what we can do. And the contractor went up and kind of did a few things, but he wasn't a roofer, and he kind of did a few things to try and patch things up. So when we got our offer to have it purchased from us, when we went to sell, they had their own inspector go out there, and they said that the roof was done.
Ugh.
I looked at my report, and that's what my report said too.
Ugh. Bummer.
So
Lesson learned. Lesson learned. Yes.
Lesson learned there is, one, get your inspection done on time and make sure you get your report. And 2, don't trust what anybody says until it's in writing in your hand.
Huge.
And so that was another that was another $15,000.
Wow. Okay. Now I see how it's adding up. Well,
Right.
I also want to take a second to talk about the program that you use to create your scope of work. And we use it in Rain, and it's called Flipper Force. And
Right.
it is a program that helps you evaluate properties. It helps you to create your scope of work, as we talked about. You can do your rehab budget in there, but it also will do your actual project and put in a timeline of when things should be completed. It is just an amazing, all-inclusive type of product that I highly recommend to any of the listeners. And they can go to rainmastermind.com/resources to check it out. I have a 30-day free trial. I just want to give them a shout out because I think you agree with me. That thing is amazing. When we were working with Tarek at Homeschooled by Tarek, and by the way, that program has ended. It ended in 2024 in July. We were using spreadsheets. We were using just like throwing numbers in, and there's so much that we couldn't really change. And when you and I evaluate properties together, we use Flipper Force. And at the very end, when we do a contingency, there's also for location pricing. So pricing for this project in Arizona, where it is, was much different as if it was pricing in California where you are.
Right.
So it actually does those adjustments automatically by location. So I cannot say enough great things about it. Do you have anything else you want to add with Flipper Force, how it's been helping your business?
You mentioned that on the timeline, it creates this timeline, but it also sends you reminders through email, like, hey, on this date, you should be doing this, or have you done this, or make sure you're checking that. So it keeps you on track as well, that you can
Huge.
it's your little assistant that just keeps you moving forward. So I love the analysis on it. You can go in and analyze a deal in minutes.
Right.
And if you have an idea, so it's like your Mayo, you get an idea of what your rehab's going to be, and you know what your ARV is going to be. You can go through the deal. It's going to give you holding cost, everything. It's just little punch list, and it just spits out a number for you. You can see what it's going to be, if it's a deal or not, like literally in minutes.
I love it. And you said MAO, which for the listeners, that means maximum allowable offer. So it calculates your holding costs. It calculates insurance and interest rates and all that. So it's just it helps
Buying
with
and selling
efficiency.
costs,
Yes. helps with efficiency in this business. I can't say enough good things about this. This is not a commercial for Flipper Force, even though we love it. But anyway, this is all about you, Stefan. So let's get back to this. All right, we are now coming to the end of the 5 weeks and you're getting ready to list it. So you originally said the ARV was 425. What did you end up listing it for?
Well, we had some others come up on market. So, and they were like 399 to maybe 405, somewhere in there, but they weren't as polished. So we wanted to come in below that. So we actually listed it for 398, 350. And the reason we went in below what we thought it would be is that this was right at Thanksgiving.
Yep.
We finished on the 21st, I think it was, and Thanksgiving was the 28th. So we're going into the holidays and I'm thinking, okay, I don't want it to sit too long. I'd rather take a little bit less on it and get rid of it and move on to the next. So we listed it and we had our first open house the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And so 398, 350.
Very good and so smart. And I'm glad you brought that up because even though people definitely buy and sell houses in November and December, they are typically the slower months. So very smart of you to be aggressive with that pricing. I love that. All right. So how many days was it on market?
So from listing to getting an offer was 22 days.
Okay.
Looking over the offer, talked about it. We decided to accept. So listing to selling was 53 days. And from buying to selling, 93 days.
Woo! That is a home run right there. I am so very, very impressed. All right. So you have it listed for 398, 350. By the way, how'd you get those numbers? Why 350?
You know what? I think that if you give it a little bit different look, a little bit different number, that it kind of attracts their eye better, as opposed to just like a 399, 999. So it kind of, I think it draws a little bit of interest. And so they look into it a little bit better. Same thing with making an offer. When you offer a property, you're not going to say, "Oh, I'll give you 400,000. I'll give you 92, 750."
I like that. I've never even thought of it that way. And so I'm going to take that nugget and run with it. We have a property we're listed right now and we just dropped the price, but we were very boring with our numbers. So maybe I need to throw a 6 and a 2 in there or something. All right. Very good point. All right. So it was listed for 398, 350. What was your offer price after 22 days?
The offer was actually a little bit lower. The offer was 385.
Okay. And did you negotiate?
We sure did.
Good. And what'd you get it up to?
400,000.
Very nice. All right. So you ended up selling it for 400,000?
We sold for 400.
Boom. All right. So what happened during the inspection period? I know the roof was brought up. So anything else happened during that inspection period?
So in Arizona, there's issues with their sewer system. And we had cleaned things out, but there was an issue right before the connection to the city. And so they wanted something done with that and they wanted the roof done. And so we said, we'll take care of the roof if we get it to the 400,000. And they wanted roof and sewer. And I said, it's going to be one or the other. We negotiated. We also put in the selling part of it, which is fairly common apparently in Arizona. There's a concessions. And the concessions is that I'll give back a certain percentage towards their purchase that goes directly to the purchase. It's not like they get to keep the money. And so I gave them a small percentage that went towards, it was about $8,000.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's fairly common for people who are trying to qualify that have limited finances.
Interesting.
So it's helping them kind of get into a house.
It is wild how things are so different from in different markets across the country. So, all right. This is great, Stefan. And I love your negotiation tactics where you said, if you get it up to 400,000, we will do this either or. So I love that you did that. Very, very good. So let's break down these final numbers. So your estimated repairs were around 50,000 and your actual repairs were 80,000 and you're paying interest, you said but that's just going to yourself.
Yeah, it's still going to go back to that account. Correct.
Okay. And then do you remember your holding costs?
Holding on that was about $3,500.
Okay. Not
And
bad.
that was for taxes, property tax, electricity, whatever needed to be, the water bill, things like that along the way for 3 months. So it wasn't too much because it was only 3 months.
Good. And then closing costs for the realtor?
Closing costs were a little bit more expensive. In total, with title, escrow, the concessions, recording fees, all that kind of good stuff, we gave them an $800 warranty on the house.
Okay.
That was $30,000.
Yowza. All right. And you sold it for 400,000. What about Corey? Did Corey get a little chunk of anything here?
Corey did get a chunk. We negotiated separately between the two of us and had a contract for that. And I gave her 10% of my
Profit.
my income. Mhm.
Very good. And that's the number I'm waiting on. So, how much did you profit on your first fix and flip here?
I put 20,000 into my pocket.
That is fantastic. And are you thrilled with 20K for your first project here? All these learning experiences?
That was unbelievable. I mean, obviously, had things gone a little bit differently, I could have made much more.
Right.
But I think that with this learning curve and this ability to put money in your pocket, have those issues that happen, pay for a $15,000 roof, and be able to move on with money in your pocket was huge.
Huge.
Extremely
And
happy. Extremely happy.
I mean, I got a deal I can't sell right now. We are definitely upside down. So I'm very impressed in this market that you still walked away with 20,000. I love that you worked side by side with Corey, another RAIN member and another student from Homeschooled by Tarek. And you weren't like great friends. You had met each other at events and things like that. But this was because you both had that solid educational background together and understood what each other knew. I think also helped to build your confidence with it. And I'm so very impressed, Stefan. I'm super proud of you. Like I said in the intro before you started speaking, it has been an absolute pleasure watching you just evolve over the time that I've met you. And it was slow starting. You're in a tough market. And instead of saying, woe is me, I can't buy houses out here, you took the next step and expanded your area of where you were looking and you went for it. So, Stefan, I just have to applaud you and the journey that you have done. I'm so very impressed with you. So thank you for sharing your story today.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Appreciate all your help.
Oh my goodness. Well, you did it on your own. And another thing that I want to touch briefly on, like I said, it was slow going for a while. And then all of a sudden you were like supercharged and you were getting a lot more deals. So what changed? What was it that clicked for you?
I think that once I was able to kind of understand the process better and feel more comfortable in the analysis of a project, right? Analyzing and being comfortable that these numbers are correct, that I was more willing to put more offers out. And so I created more network, also a bigger network.
I think
reaching
that's
out to
huge.
wholesalers.
That's
Right.
what I was really getting into is that you really built your network in your area. So I'm sorry I cut you off there, but continue with that.
No, and that's true, right? And I think that was really what it was because I found a RIA out here that I really liked, great people, and they have a bunch of connections, and that helped me kind of expand more into the real estate industry of investment side of it. So I met more wholesalers. I met more people that fix and flip. I met people that are holding. I met people that were doing hotel flips, and it just kind of broadened my view and made me realize that you can do this one, and there's so many avenues to get into. So I think that kind of exploded for me and really got me moving.
I think so too. And I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of times people take these online courses and you have Zoom meetings but when you meet people in person, things are totally different. And the networking and developing those relationships and having that support and accountability as well with a local group, because that as same situation, I joined a national coaching program, but we had a local group of over 100 active people in that coaching program. And that's really what built my confidence and knowing that I had that support system there. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's huge for the listeners to hear. So we are going to move to the second part of the podcast here, which is what makes Stefan a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. What is a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Oh, well, actually, let's see. I believe it's right here. Where are we here? Here's a good book I've read.
You crack me up. What is the name of that book for the listeners?
Oh, it's From Beginner to Badass by
On,
Jen Josey,
by Jen Josey, the bestower of
the
Badassery.
bestower of Badassery.
You crack
Right.
me up. But seriously, what is a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Uh, I think one of the first ones that helped a lot was Stephen Covey,
Okay.
right? The Seven Habits of Successful People. That was early on. That was years ago that I read that. And I'm not a huge reader. I do a lot of audio stuff. Tony Robbins. There's the other one too. Can't think of his name right now. With the Profit First.
Profit First. Yes.
Yeah, Profit
Michael
First and
McAllowitz.
Investor.
Oh,
Yeah, very
for
good.
real estate investing, that's
Both actually. Yeah, both
yes.
of them. Yeah.
David Richter is the
Um,
author of that
David
one.
Richter is very good,
Yes.
right? McAllowitz was. I mean, it's just a interesting information. It just allows you to kind of really see inside yourself and understand that it's just a process, really. And if you have your system in place and you follow your system and believe in yourself, that it's going to grow.
Well
So
said. Very, very good. All right. The first A in badass is for advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received? Besides, you're not going to live there.
I think it happened. It comes from many people, right? It's just believing in yourself and trusting what you've learned, right? And then putting it in action, right? If you take the stuff that you've learned and you use it and you actually put it into action, things are going to happen. And like this project along the way, there were some issues, but in the long run, it works out. And maybe not every project's going to work out, but if you don't put it into action, it definitely won't work out because it won't happen. So I think that the best advice is just learn it and do it.
And take massive action. Very, very well said. All right. The D in badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful?
Really, it's my wife and my family. My wife has been very successful in what she does, and she keeps me on track and keeps me grounded. And so I think that that's my drive as my family is to be successful and to be able to provide and contribute and teach and learn.
Well, I can't wait to meet her someday, hopefully, because she's a lucky lady to have you. All right. The second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So, what is a goal you are currently working on?
Just kind of developing more in my business and being able to give back, right? I want to obviously do more projects and grow this and be able to hand something off. I have two kids that one is on his own and the other's got a family of her own. And so I want to be able to hand this down and create a legacy for them and their kids.
You're such a good guy. All right. The first S in badass is for systems. We've mentioned Flipper Force and getting a coaching program, but what systems help you achieve success?
Well, Flipper Force is great for sure. I mean, there's a couple of things that I do use to try and evaluate. I mean, even for on market, right? I use multiple things, whether it's, and when I say that, it's things like Zillow, Redfin, gives you good information. I like RealFlow, gives you great information. It gives you some good numbers. There's actually another brand new one that came out by a very prominent flipper investor in the Arizona area that just came out with, he teamed up with another one who's in that area as well, and they created another system. So we'll see if that works or not. I'm gonna look into that one. But I think that having your own system on how you do things that along with those others that help you out, I think that's the key to it. So Flipper Force and those other
Huge.
softwares that kind of keep it going.
What are the wholesaling? It's not a company, but it's where wholesalers post their deals. You have a couple of these that you get emailed to you. Give us some of those.
Yeah, those are Investor Lift.
Investor Lift is a good one. Yes.
Right. And so I've met quite a few people through that, and I can't, I mean, too many to even look at sometimes. So that's definitely one. And then individual companies, wholesale companies that emailed me projects or text me, things like that. And the other is this one called Easy Street Offers. And Easy Street Offers is their own company, but they're backed by a large title company. And they basically are getting like pocket listings from realtors, and they vet the property and they vet the realtor to make sure that it is something that is obviously legitimate and things are solid with the property and there's no issues. And they put it on their Easy Street Offers before it gets listed on the MLS. And they offer it to people like myself, or like us investors, to see if it's something that we want to jump onto before they put it on the market. So that way you can make an offer that's not quite what would be a market price, and there's still room and a margin there to create some profit out of that.
Very good. Yeah, I have yet to check out Easy Street, but I know you speak highly of it during our calls. And so thank you for sharing that one. And I have to get to know those people, and I need to get them on the podcast too. So Stefan, this has been awesome. I appreciate you sharing your project and teaching all the listeners about it. So the final S in badass is for success. What does success mean to you?
Good question. Success means to me that you're doing something you love that's bringing you, I guess, joy and satisfaction, and creating something that you can share and give to others. And so many times in this industry, in investing, you have an opportunity to not only make money, but to develop relationships, to help other people who may be in distress, that you can help them get out of an issue. But you also create something that you're offering to people that they can live in for the next 20 or 30 years. So I think that's why I like to stay in the flipping side of it, because you get to see something go from here to here, and then you're offering it to people that they can enjoy for years to come. So I think that's what success is.
Well, I have really enjoyed watching your success grow, and I just truly appreciate you sharing this project. And I love presenting past projects. I haven't done a past project show in months. So I love this. I think the listeners really enjoy it because this is real world situations that they can learn from. So Stefan, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure. I thank you for inviting me. It was awesome.
Absolutely. We're going to have to get you on again. So that is all. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery, and don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josey by visiting therealjenjosey.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.